Hey, welcome to the pit, slimy techno fellas. We have got an awesome show set up for you guys today, so let's get it started before Mum can come home and shut it all down again. We'll be taking a look at a few fighting titles for the Atari Jaguar, changing the game with a couple of cheats, one of my favourite Simpsons games on the PC, as well as doing a review on a Game Boy Advance pinball game. So don't worry guys, it's actually a good one. So all that and more coming up right here on the Leftover Culture Show. Cheers guys. So Sonic the Hedgehog, everyone's favourite blue hedgehog, had a very rough time on the Sega Saturn. He had tech demos, cameos, an isometric platforming game, as well as a racing game in 3D called Sonic R. All this evidence of a 3D Sonic on the horizon, but he never managed to have his very own platformer. It was only ever teased at, hinted at, or announced a few times. At the hands of Sega of America, Sonic X-Treme went through a few different concepts, iterations, and designs. And now you can play probably one of the most complete tech demos of Sonic X-Treme on your PC right now. Word of warning, it is only a tech demo. It's a super rough attempt and it's PC only. The gameplay here isn't going to excite anybody, but getting to play this long lost piece of Sonic history was, I'm not going to say it was a blast, but look, I had fun.
Gameplay, all with amazing new 3D experiences never before possible on home game systems.
Hey!
Wow.
This is definitely one of the best games on any handheld.
These guys are tragically unhit.
Hey man, your set was stolen.
So the second controller pad for the Atari Jaguar is probably the most useless peripheral for the system. There just weren't that many good multiplayer games, but alright, you lost a bet. You're heading home, you're up one Jaguar controller and you think, I enjoy a good fighting title with a buddy. We'll be covering some of your best options right here on the show, so stay tuned. So Dragon, the Bruce Lee story, ties in with the movie of the same name, and it has you playing as Bruce Lee literally all of the time. Even though in this case it's not an exclusive Jaguar game, the Jaguar version does look the best, just in case you needed the best definition of Dragon possible. So positives outside the graphics here, this game also supports two-player cooperative beat-em-up. I guess it's the only two-player beat-em-up available on the Atari Jaguar, even though it's not a side-scroller. This isn't a good fighting game. The fighting just doesn't feel fluid. You won't be pulling off any of those flashy combo moves, and the controls just don't feel intuitive. This game is only going to get 2 Bruce Lees. So, quite a tough score for Dragon, only 2 Bruce Lees, but let's see how Kasumi Ninja stacks up. So if this game was on any other system, I don't think it would be as memorable. It's a really unbalanced fighter, and each of the fighters are a complete stereotype. The gameplay is jerky and rigid, but at its core, I still had a blast experimenting with all the different crazy moves and seeing all that gore. Starting a solo game, you only get to choose from 2 different characters. If you can beat someone, you get to unlock them for the story mode. Wouldn't be a problem if this game wasn't so unbalanced. Finding the strongest fighters to unlock them to play in story can be a real hassle when you're first starting out. Kasumi Ninja isn't a great game, but it does come with a cool headband. So for that alone, I'm giving this game 10 out of 10. Great! Let's give the Jaguar a break from all that beating off. Check back after the break, dudes. I'll be pulling out some of my favourite moves from a Simpsons game on the PC, as well as my pinball review. From beyond the grave.
Atari just reinvented the video game.
I want the latest games anywhere.
Yeah, I'm worried that they might make the Genesis games obsolete.
But we can give you a bag.
Now look inside.
It may have a flashy new look, but it's just the same old, tired
One of my favourite Simpsons games of all time is Virtual Springfield for Windows 95 and the Power Mac. It's basically a virtual tour of Springfield from 1997, packed full of nostalgic references to both the show and just pop culture in general.
Hey, man.
It's a whirlwind of a tour with lots of locations from the show to check out, but one of my favourite places to hang out in the game was always Noiseland Arcade, where you could take a crack at a few of the games that appeared along in the Simpsons shows. What I didn't realise was that Super Slugfest actually had its own set of hidden moves. For the uppercut, you'll want to hit XXY on the keyboard. To lay down a pounding, press X, then D, then A. And finally, the finishing move. With your opponent on red health, press D, then wait a moment, then D again, and wait a moment, then Z. So it's a shallow game, but Super Slugfest is one aspect of it that's actually two-player, as long as you don't mind sharing a keyboard. And now you've got all the button combinations you need to totally annihilate your friends and family, so you're welcome, I guess. Check back after the break, guys, and we'll have the last of the Jaguar fighting titles, as well as the review that you've all been waiting for. Pinball.
Oh, Bob. Good enough? With the Atari Jaguar system, 64 bits, 3D graphics, and CD quality sound, how can you be satisfied with good enough? Do you think you're good enough to play me?
Yeah.
How about Atari's Ultra Vortex?
So Ultra Vortex is often hailed as the best fighting game for the Atari Jaguar. In terms of graphics, moveset, and even the character balance, I totally agree. Though that's not saying much when we take into consideration games like Kasumi Ninja and Dragon. I really did enjoy the movesets for the characters in this game, with a lot less, but still a little bit of racial stereotyping. Some of the stages also had stage fatalities, which were really fun to pull off. Ultra Vortex also managed to bring a lot more imaginative stages to the Jaguar, with some backgrounds that actually move, some really sort of detailed locations, and a whole lot of really unnecessary plot. So Ultra Vortex, it's great by Jaguar standards, but by real world standards, this game only gets moderately saucy. So dudes, here we are. Pinball. Literally everyone hates pinball, except maybe my dad. But here we are, trying to keep those little lights blinking just a little bit longer. Who would have thought it would be the dead, bringing life back into pinball on the Game Boy Advance? Sega did with Pinball of the Dead. Let's check it out. So at its core, this is a pinball version of House of the Dead 2, but it's not a cheap attempt at making a few different tables. This is the full experience, different stages, different bosses, different enemies. And even before your ball hits the table, you're playing a shooting minigame to see what kind of bonuses you're going to get. And yes, I have to admit, a pinball game with a theme like this is a lot of fun. Instead of playing as a character, you're basically guiding the weapon, and it's gory and it's violent, and I just love watching the zombies smashing into little pieces. Pinball of the Dead is a great example of a pinball game that wouldn't have worked on consoles and wouldn't have gained anything by being in 3D. Quirky games like this have a much better chance of surviving now on platforms like Android and iOS, like the Walking Dead pinball game. But the Game Boy Advance really is one of the best places to find the quirkier 2D games from this era. And I really enjoyed how the arcade nature of pinball works with the arcade nature of House of the Dead. As soon as that ball hits that table, you're not really playing to win. You're playing for points and the chance to stay alive and take on the next boss. There's not going to be enough here to satisfy everybody, but it was still too good a game to pass up. This game gets 13 zombie giblets out of a possible 17. Alright dudes, these lights are getting really hot. Mum's been going for hours and I've still got to pack down everything. So we're going to look at the last Atari Jaguar fighting title that I own. It's the only one in 3D and it's the last game ever developed by Atari. Fight for Life. It's not exactly a fan favourite in many circles, but I still think there's a few things here worth checking out. So guys, thank you so much for watching and check in next time for some more leftover culture. Cheers. Fight for Life is seriously unpolished. The first thing you'll notice is that these fights are really slow. Every bout is punch for punch and it can take a really long time to slug it out. What you'll want to do is find those moves that can push your opponents around, take control of the match and go for the ring out as quickly as possible. Fight for Life does have a pretty respectable move list. And if you're playing in arcade mode or single player mode, for every opponent you beat as you progress, you get to take on 2 of their moves. Essentially, you can build up your very own character to play with, and you can also save it to use later. Fight for Life, for me, is iconic as the end of the Jaguar. It showed off really what the system could do and what it was capable of doing, but at the same time, it showed us how bad things were getting for Atari. This game gets a single KO. Thanks for watching, dudes.
Fight for life, show no mercy. There'll be only one victor, only one new life. Will it be yours, Bob?